It's not a new position insofar as that it's abolishing the vacancy that's in my office.
Does that mean that the salary is going to increase as well?
The salary is comparable to what the previous incumbent was making. Mr. Foley, it's absolutely the case. The grade is different. The administrative assistant was a grade 4 position. The executive assistant is a grade 6 position. The salary of what the administrative assistant was making at the time of departure is the same or within a couple $100 of what the entry-level salary for the executive assistant position is.
Ms. McNair-Coleman.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure if you. I touched on this in the June Ways and Means. To kind of piggyback on Mr. Lattimore and Mr. Ripley's statements, I am overall disappointed at the process in which this has been unfolded. I ultimately support you having an executive assistant, and I see in your plan that you gave to us in your, in your memo, it makes sense. I just feel the way this has been rolled out, I think it left the communication to be a lot more to be desired of this. So I am ultimately supporting this, as I said, but I have had some difficulty understanding and have had to sift through the information. And I do feel as though we don't want to get involved with personnel issues per se, but I feel disappointment in the way this has been handled. So,
Mr. Foley.
Okay, so I voted against this at Ways and Means, as we know, because the way it's presented to us, I believe to be misleading. You say that the salaries are comparable because the way you are structuring it is your current incumbent is roughly, let's say, $49,000 salary. The new person that you would hire, so the previous one would be a grade 4. The new person that would be hired would be a grade 6, and that would be $50,000. So you're saying roughly comparable. However, what has been a sticking point between you and I from when you presented this was that if you hire anybody with any experience, they're going to get a percentage increase, 1% increase for each of those years. So it will not be comparable. Therefore, there will be a budget impact not only on this year, but for 2019, which has not been accounted for in any way that I can tell from your analysis. I really do think it's misleading to present something to us like this. Now, if you would say, yes, I'm going to hire an executive assistant instead of administrative assistant, we do need to pay them a little bit more. Here's my vision for that, and please support this, then I probably would have been all for it, Justin. But not when you keep saying to people that it's comparable salary, when I mean, unless you are planning on hiring someone with 0 years of experience and not giving them a raise, which I just can't see from the conversations I've had with you, I think it's an unfair assessment of the situation. That's why I was against it at Ways and Means, and that's why I'll be against it tonight.
Mr. Foley, I think that's exactly how I presented it. And every resolution for every hire that's presented to you for any position includes the minimum salary for the grade. So this conversation about where they're going to be hired, whether it's based on experience or not, every single resolution is done consistently the same way. And that's how it was done before I got here, and that's how it's been done for the last 6 months since I've been here. There hasn't been any hiding any information. I presented a memo that said, this is how I want to align the position, and this is why, and this is the vision. And I've talked about it even before that with several of you. So I've tried to share the vision and be as transparent as I can with that information. And if you objected to the language of saying there's no impact when there could be a minimal impact, then I apologize for misspeaking. But I was in no way trying to mislead you.
Mr. Peters, then Mr. Foley.
So, Mr. Administrator, just looking for a little clarification on this. So there are steps involved from?
No, we don't have any steps in our positions outside of the union contracts. So we don't have steps.
This salary will remain the same for the duration of the appointment?
It would, whatever the starting salary is, it will be subject to whatever raises are given to non-bargaining, whether they're I don't know how, if there's no increase, then there'd be no increase. If there's a % increase, then there would be a % increase.
So, but this is, am I correct in understanding that the salary that the incumbent was making was at the top of their,
The incumbent had been in that position for a long time.
okay, so, but the salary, the pay grades are different.
Pay
correct?
grades are different.
So, I guess I'm just trying to make, is there expanded duties?
Yes, there are expanded duties, expanded qualifications. The, where the incumbent was, I think, like 49.9, and where the entry level, the base for grade 6 is like 50,200 or 50,300. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was within literally a couple $100. So when I said there was no impact, I was talking about those numbers. And Mr. Foley is absolutely correct. If we hired somebody with 10 years' experience and we gave them the 10%, well, then there would be a $5,000 impact. I don't know, I don't know what range we're gonna hire at, but that base salary is in every resolution. And Mr. Russell can confirm that. That's how they do every resolution, is they put the base salary in, but that base salary isn't always what people are hired at. The current policy, and this can be changed if the legislature wishes us to look at it, but the way hiring has been done since I arrived and previously, was that the department head and the HR administrator can approve up to a 10% increase based on experience.
It just as a follow-up, how are they the same? I'm just trying to get my mind around how a 4 and a 6, it seems to me at some point the 6 has to be compensated more than the 4.
Well, a 4 with many, many, many years of experience and longevity
So then the
payments.
6 Given
And-
the 6 with many, many years of experience will be compensated at a greater.
No more than 10%.
So,
Mr.
you don't
Foley.
feel- This is the issue where I think it's a little bit misleading, because what he's asking is the grade 4, the starting salary for grade 4 for this position for the administrative assistant is $42,000. If Justin was going to rehire a person at that position, it would be $42,000. The new person that would be coming in as the executive assistant would be hired at $50,000. So we're talking about roughly $8,000 increase here. Not only that, if you were to give the $42,000 the 10% increase, you would only be talking about $46,000. There would be savings there. This is what I'm trying to say. I think it's misleading to a certain degree. I mean, I think it's important to know that it's not, he's comparing it to the top of the 4 to the bottom of the 6 when he's talking about how the salaries are comparable, and it's not. That's, I think, my point here.
It's a fair point, and you're right that I did that. No.
Mr. Whitman?
Can we not refer to the pay grid system that we put in place to see how this is gonna go up over the next few years?
The pay grade system doesn't account for any increases. The non-bargaining increases are determined by the legislature through the budget process, correct?
I thought that was all about pay increases.
Mr. Bennett?
I'd like to call the question.
All right, questions called on WM2. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Yeah, let's do a roll call vote.
Dr. Whitman?
No.
Andy Dennison?
Yes.
Ben Vitale?
No.
Chris Peters?
No.
Paul Pinckney?
No.
Aileen McNabb Coleman?
Yes.
Steve Batman?
Yes.
Joe DeForest?
Yes.
Charlie Ripley?
No.
Joseph Bennett?
Yes.
Elaine Daly?
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore?
No.
Michael Didio?
No.
Brian Foley?
No.
Pat Mahoney?
Yes.
Defeated.
What's it do?
Mr. Bennett,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Ways and Means 3 was pulled, and I'd like to offer up Ways and Means 4, which was added at Ways and Means, amending Resolution 499-10.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on WM4? If not, Mr. Ripley.
It requires a two-thirds vote to,
Again, I'm still stuck on the CGI report stuff. I know that we've been pushing for the compliance officer appointment or whatever. I'm still having a problem with this, and I can't support it.
Any other discussion? Ms. McNabb Coleman.
Yeah, I also spoke about this last month. You know, this position was not previously stipend for. Also, I have an issue with there being a lack of a job description. I know the resolution lays out vague terms about some of the responsibilities that this person would hold. I would like to make a motion to table this until we get more information.
Second.
We have a motion to table. Any discussion on the motion to table? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Lattimore.
Is there a timetable that this has to be filled by?
You've already filled it, you just haven't compensated for it.
Mr. Dennison.
There's been a lot of discussion about, job description and stuff like that. And, we've had this in the past too, talking about confidential secretaries and, now going from administrative assistant to executive and all this. Can we get, and I'm not saying this in a bad way to anybody here on the sixth floor, but can we get descriptions of what people's positions, duties are here on the sixth floor? So we, Mr. Lattimore always talks about is everybody compatible as far as, like talking about Sheila and Amanda's positions versus confidential secretaries and all that. I don't think sometimes we know what everybody's job descriptions, job duties are. But yet we sit here and have these discussions and arguments about it. So is there a way to get something about?
Mr. Russell, can you pull something together?
sure,
Uh,
job specs are all important.
Yeah.
So,
And can you also add the legislators' job descriptions in there as well? Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Bennett?
no, that's it, thank you.
All right, Health and Human Services.
Okay, Health and Human Services has 24 resolutions tonight.
Way too many.
HH1 through HH23 were discussed at committee. HH23 was brought the night of the meeting, which is a resolution simply supporting the City of Auburn's 2018 consolidated funding application for the acquisition of land for lake protection. And HH24 was added yesterday due to new information that came forward related to establishing a sick bank for a health department employee facing some serious health issues. So unless there's a desire to separate them out individually, I'd like to entertain a motion to vote on first HH1 separately, and then bundle HH2 to HH24.
I'd like to separate them all and do a roll call.
All right, so we're going with HH1 first. Any discussion on HH1? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried.
Mr. Chairman, can you let the record reflect that I abstain from HH1?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, then we'll offer HH2 through 24.
Move them.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. Anything else? Okay, Government Ops.
Mr. Chairman, Government Operations had two past resolutions. I offer them up as a bundle unless I'm like singled out.
So we have GO2 and GO3.
GO2, GO3.
Move them.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, if I could just say GO1 was regarding the lease agreement on County House Road in the county nursing home. That wasn't exactly ready yet, so we did not have a motion, but we did discuss it a little bit. I think it's being worked on. GO4 turned into Ledge 1, I believe. That was for fundamentally the county website, and when it's going to be funded. So we'll vote on that later.
All right. Thank you. Planning. Oh,
I was gonna back up on.
Okay.
On him. Just, Fred, quick question. Any update on that discussion, or Justin, I mentioned this one of you last month about, I believe it was in July or August of last year, a resolution that came before us, or discussion of a monthly rent that was talked about and agreed upon. Is there any surface to that paperwork anywhere?
The resolution did not pass last year.
For the $6,000 per month?
That's correct.
Okay. And when was that? Do you remember?
I can look it up, Mr. Pinckney, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you.
I'll find out.
all right, jumping right into planning then.
Mr. Chairman, planning has two resolutions before you. Both have been through committee and seek approval. I would offer as a bundle.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on PL1 and PL2? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Public Works.
Mr. Chairman, Public Works has 6 resolutions, all have been through committee and passed. I would like to offer them as a bundle unless anyone would like one singled out.
Move them.
Like PW4 single?
All right.
All right.
I will offer a bundle minus PW4.
So we have PW 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have a question, if I can. Did we get a dollar amount for PW2?
Yeah, we did.
You got that?
Over Blackstone. Did we finally get the?
Yeah, Bill, what was the number for Stewart's Corner?
George Corner's contractor was Silver Line Construction, $517,542. There were 2 other bids. One from Economy, which is higher at $546, and Slate Hill Contractors at $638.
All set?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I apologize for this, but I keep forgetting to ask. That project is going to be done when?
We expect that project to be finished this fall before snow.
Okay, but not until, okay, good. Yeah, I go down that road periodically, forgetting, and there's no quick way. If you commit yourself, it's a maze. So thank you. I'll try to remember.
Put a note on your dash.
I know.
Mr. Whitman.
Chairman, I would like to offer up PW4, authorization to authorize the chair of the Cayuga County Legislature to extend a professional services agreement with Dashno's Town Budget Service and amending the budget.
I was just curious as to what detail that was. On that, I mean, I'm not understanding what that is, I guess. I'm sorry.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Oh,
We got a
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question on it.
Let's get Paul taken care of first, and we'll come back and get you.
your question, Mr. Pinckney?
I just didn't understand the resolution. It's to
Sure.
extend a professional
Sure.
service agreement on the town's budget service amending budget?
Yes, it's extending and funding Bill's contract through the end of the year while we finalize the creation of the Public Works Department and recruit a superintendent
And it's through December of this year?
through December 31st, not to exceed December 31st.
Mr. Ripley.
It was my understanding that when we hired him for 3 months,
We hired him for 6 months.
6 months,
Yes, sir.
at $6,000 a month.
Yes, which is roughly equivalent to what, and the reason we haven't filled the general foreman role. This is basically what we're funding the position out of.
And, okay, it was also my understanding saying that we hired him to provide up-to-date training for our appointed highway superintendent.
Correct.
From what I've been seeing, he's actually an assistant to the administrator.
Well, that's the title that we gave him. He's a consultant, special assistant to the administrator for highway, and he's assisting Dan in operations and training and budget preparation, the road plan that was prepared, the road condition survey that was prepared, and will be a very strong asset as we go into preparing what is one of the largest areas of our budget.
I'm not trying to doubt what Mr. Dashall's qualifications are. He's obviously done a fine job wherever he came from. I'm having a trouble with, it looks like what we're leading to is he's gonna end up being our highway superintendent, and Mr. Dashall, or Mr. Bowman is going back to South End County or something.
Mr. Dashnaw is not a candidate, will not be a candidate for our highway or public works positions, however we finally settle on it. He's retired and doing this as a consultant, and will be concluded by December 31st. But he's not interested in the job. In fact, his wife would be happy if he stopped now, but we would leave quite a hole in our operation.
Mr. Lattimore?
Mr. Chairman, is this in our purview to discuss this? I mean, like you mentioned before that, you know, to HR that we should know what our job is. Is this part of our job to ask that question?
It's absolutely fine, Mr. Lattimore.
It's okay?
But if we're going to examine all job descriptions, we should examine our own as well. That's all I'm saying.
And this was.
It was discussed last month as well.
Well, that's not, I don't want to have any tension there.
And just to follow up, this was, we discussed a couple different courses of action with the legislature last month, and this was the direction the legislature directed me to move forward in.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll call a question.
Thank you. PW4, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No,
3 opposed. All right, Mr. Whitman, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, judicial and public safety.
Did we do 5 and 6? Yes, we did. JPS has 6 resolutions that have all been through committee, so I'd like to bundle them, but we'll see.
Move them.
Second.
I have a question.
Do you want one separated, or do you have a question?
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Do we have the dollar amount for that contract?
6,000 a month. 6,000 a month. You're talking about the one that PW4?
No, 3.
Oh. Oh, the Motorola, you're talking about the Motorola agreement?
He's talking about JP3.
Yeah.
Oh, do you want JP3 separated?
No, you don't, there's not a dollar amount because it's a change of contract. The state wouldn't give us a lump sum, index lump sum contract anymore, so we're going to a time and materials contract, in which they'll pay us a percentage of the contract, and then the rest will be based on the reports that we submit based on the number of miles and the materials that we use, which part of the training that Bill will be providing to our team is how to track and monitor salt usage, roads plowed, and things like that.
Any discussion on JP 1 through 6? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Anything else from judicial and public safety?
God, no.
All right, we do have Ledge 1, which was added at Ways and Means, authorizing the chairperson of the legislature to sign the Civic Plus service and license agreement for website redesign and hosting and amend the 2018 budget.
Move it.
Second.
Questions?
Let the good
All right, we
times
have a motion
roll.
and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Batman?
Yeah, I just want to thank the Elaine Daly for coming up with this solution to the problem. What this will effectively do is take savings that we've recognized this year with the leasing of the sheriff's vehicles and apply that to the cost of the web, so that the impact on future years' budgets is minimized. So it's a good solution, and thank you, Elaine.
Any other discussion? Ms. McNabb Coleman?
I just wanted to piggyback on that and say, without that solution presented, I was not ready to support this, and understanding now fully where this money is coming from and that it's not going to be taken out of contingency of the fund balance, I am willing to support this.
Mr. Whitman? Thank you.
I hope that a lot of the citizens of the county will hopefully be able to look at this new website someday before it's outdated, but I'm not holding my breath. I know I do not have access to high-speed internet where I live. And I think we're kind of putting the cart in front of the horse. Our website functions, I use it all the time. Sure, we could have a better one. Seen a lot worse ones, too. I don't think now's the time.
Mr. Ripley?
I agree with what Amy just said and what Amy together.
I use the library.
But I'm still having a problem with the county not approving the best possibility for an internet system for the people of Cayuga County, where you're cutting them out of the picture and not allowing them to use the website.
That's just not the case.
Any other discussion on Ledge 1? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
3 opposed. Oh, 4.
All right, 4.
Can we do a roll call? Then we'll know. We'll see which way the half hands go then.
If you want to go.
All right, I guess we'll do a roll call vote.
Dr. Whitman?
No.
Andy Dennison?
Yes.
Ben Vitale?
No.
Chris Peters?
Yes.
Paul Pickney?
Yes.
Amy McNabb Coleman?
Yes.
Keith Beck?
Yes.
Jody Forrest?
Yes.
Charlie Ripley?
No.
Joseph Bennett?
Yes.
Elaine Daly?
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore?
With the proviso that we do broadband, yes?
Michael Video?
No.
Ryan Foley?
Yes.
Pat Mahoney?
Yes.
Pass.
All right. So that is it for Ledge 1 and 2. I would entertain a motion for executive session for real estate acquisition and a personnel.
We didn't do Ledge 2 yet.
Sorry, we'll do Ledge 2 now.
Move it. Second.
All right, any discussion on Ledge 2?
Yeah,
Mr. Batman?
Yeah, might offer a modification. In the first resolve, it says that the legislature, having reviewed the proposed services plan, hereby supports the proposals contained within the plan. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that, since we haven't really explored the proposals, and it was indicated in the preparation, these in some respects are ideas that will be pursued. And so I'm wondering if we could modify that to say that the legislature accepts the plan and recommends that the rest of it the same, recommends that the shared services panel approve.
So
So
you're
that the modification would be, and strike the word supports the proposal and add the words accept the plan.
I'll second that. First resolve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor.
Because it doesn't matter.
I second.
All right.
If it really-
Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Whitman?
I'm just curious, would we want to change the title to then, Keith? Take that support out and say that we, or
They don't need us.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, Mr. Whitman. Maybe just if I could also add then the resolution regarding the Cayuga County Shared Services Plan.
Mr. Chairman, check to make sure the second is in agreement with that before we go.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Foley? Mr. Dennison?
I agree with where Keith's going with this, I just don't, because, I mean, I don't agree with everything in there, so it's hard for me to say I agree with this plan, the way it's worded, but I don't know if the way Keith and Tucker just worded it, or even,
So we,
does our lawyer have any suggestions?
it's still in draft form, so we could probably review it after the public
Should we put
hearings.
that in there as draft form?
We had, our obligation was to submit it to the legislature prior to August 1st.
Yep.
What the legislature does with it is the legislature. The legislature certainly could take the month, make some recommendations, and issue a report by majority vote, is what the state law provides. But the legislature's next meeting is after.
Right,
after
yeah,
the-
we do.
Well, I'm
This
not
would
trying
fulfill
to-
our obligation with that, with those changes?
I'm not trying to kill it,
Okay.
I mean, can we put the words in there in draft form or something? I mean, it just makes it sound like we're passing it the way it
Yeah,
is.
we're not,
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Dennison, I think the important thing to recognize is that there's nothing in this plan that is binding, right? This is a plan of ideas that we're submitting to the state, and to the extent that any of them materialize and require your approval, and then can be submitted for savings, then they will be.
why can't we say that it's ideas? These ideas.
You can amend it however the legislature sees fit. I was just, responding to the question, to the comment that didn't necessarily support everything in there. And we also recognize, and the state law provides for, that not every community is going to support everything in there. And what's asked is that any community that doesn't support anything withdraws from any particular plan. And so we structured our proposal in a way that was proactive, so that each chose which they wanted to participate in up front. So that way, I think that we'll have the support we need to pass the panel.
Done.
I'd like to call the question on the amendment.
All right. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Dennison. All right. Now, Ledge 2 as amended. Any discussion?
Can I call the question on that?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Get the three.
I didn't like the amendment.
You got them, Didio, Dennison,
Sorry.
Whitman.
We're supposed to still have our hand up.
All right, now that we got Ledge 2 out of the way, I would entertain a motion for executive session,
Motion.
Second.
real estate acquisition and personnel issue, and invite Dr. Duran in.
Yeah, we've got personnel and we've got.
Sheriff, good to see you, Sheriff.